All right, welcome to the fifth episode. I think it's the fifth episode. Yeah, fifth episode of Vulgar Philosophy Podcast. This is Chase Tucker. We have Brent Womble on the other line here in Wisconsin, and our very distinguished guest is Mr. Dan Sargent. How you doing, sir?
Hanging in there. Life is awesome.
Life is awesome. He's a former high school teacher, political activist, and he was one of my favorite teachers. I won't say the favorite teacher because I don't want to offend any of my other teachers.
Fair.
They're all in the top five. I'll at least be that generous. We got beers and whiskey and lots of stuff to talk about.
Mm-hmm.
Well, recently we've had a missile attack in Syria. Let's start on a really high positive note. We'll go with that. What do you think?
Sounds good to me.
What are your thoughts? What are your thoughts on this, gentlemen?
What was the purpose of it?
That's a good question. I think a lot of people are asking that, right?
Allegedly, it was retaliation for the chemical warfare that they were starting, but there's a lot of iffy bits about it from what I've gathered, and I haven't done a whole lot of looking into the reasoning why. But a lot of it was for a retaliation for them using chemical weapons. But a lot of there's a lot of actual people that got hurt, but there's a lot of it that doesn't really add up in terms of how the chemical weapons were used. And typically, and I think Westy said this, but when you're recovering people who have been exposed to these chemicals, you need suits on and masks and stuff like that to deal with them. And there's plenty of photographs of them recovering people out of the areas where it's just people your average paramedic with just rubber gloves on and just a breathing mask.
So, which wouldn't work for that gas, which adds to the discussion of those who claim this was all faked.
Yeah,
right,
sarin
exactly.
gas, I think is what it is. Mm-hmm. You can't handle with bare hands or any kind of skin contact or lung contact for obvious reasons. I'll admit that I'll plead ignorance on a lot of the stuff revolving around this issue. I haven't had a lot of time to read about it. But, to play devil's advocate, because that's what I do, I think that Assad is a murdering dictator. That's pretty obvious, right? We can at least go with that. Even if the chemical attacks didn't happen, we can easily say that the Syrian people are in a hostage crisis, any which way you look at it, whether or not Assad's in power or ISIS is in power. So, and I think it comes down to America's already intervened, obviously. Right. So
why did we intervene?
Why
did Russia decide? If you go out, there's a lot of literature out there that talks about how this is really all about natural gas pipelines, and how they're going to be routed to Europe.
Oh, yeah? To Russia?
No, not to Russia. Putin
Europe?
doesn't want them.
Oh, okay.
Because there's competition for the natural gas that he's selling to Europe.
Okay.
And people are arguing the United States wants to get in there and get the pipelines in so that they can dilute Russia's influence, Russia's money-making power. And also the powers that be are going to make more money, because they're obviously the money behind building this pipeline.
Right.
So now, is that the actual reason we're all in there? Not that I don't know. I'm not that involved in the Middle East conflicts.
Do you think that it's somewhat interesting though that I'm not a fan of Donald Trump, but it's interesting that he has alleged Russian ties to Russian investing in business, and I haven't read a whole lot about it. I just listened to Sam Harris's podcast with Anna Applebaum. She's a writer and she works for is it the Washington Post? I can't remember who she writes for, but she's a big writer, and she's kind of center right, I guess, aligned with the conservatives, but she's very anti-Trump. And she kind of talked about how Trump has his kids and Trump, they kind of admire Putin. And Sam Harris mentioned how Trump has evidently had nothing but good things to say about Vladimir Putin and how much he admires him and how he runs his government and how there might be Russian money laundering involved in investments in the Trump organization. And, you know, and I remember reading somewhere that Trump got blackballed by a lot of like Western banks and Western investors.
And the Russians bailed him out.
And the Russians saved him so that he might have something to owe to Russia. But then this kind of throws a monkey wrench somewhat into that theory, because the Russians back Assad, right? It's kind of, the power play here is different from the Russian.
Is it
investing? I don't know.
Or is it all smoke and mirrors? Hey,
right.
Look, I'm pissed off at the Russians. How much damage did that Tomahawk missile attack do? Oh, they were flying planes off of the runway less than an hour after we hit it.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Did we hurt any Russians? No. There's very credible sources claiming he told the Russians we were going to do this before we did it.
Right.
Right. I've heard that, yeah, we did warn, you know, hey, get the fuck out of here before we start bombing it, basically, is what
I
I've
don't
heard.
want to hurt you.
Is this all like just the same old game about like just rah America? If I bomb something, we can get some kind of boost in our image, I guess.
He didn't hit the boost, though.
Right. Well, I'm just saying from their perspective, are they thinking that it's going to inspire his base or something? But his base seems to gravitate towards him because he was non-interventionist, allegedly. Right.
His numbers actually, the latest poll I saw, dropped 2 points after he bombed Syria, which is a total anomaly from whenever any other president has ever decided to go
a military strike.
Yeah.
Well, it's interesting. That doesn't surprise me really, because, like I said, Trump's base seemed to back him because he's not a neocon, allegedly. You know, that his whole thing was that he was going to go kind of, I wouldn't say withdraw completely, but recede the amount of U.S. foreign intervention, like not Ron Paul style, obviously, you know, drop everything and leave, but something kind of halfway, you know.
Right.
And he's already disparaged that. He's already like gone against that part of his platform. And within how long has he been in office? Not even 100 days yet, right?
88 days or something like that.
Yeah. The first 100. There's always a big deal.
Yeah. Right. But yeah, I wonder how much, like what, I mean, you're portrayed as at least retaliation of the chemical weapons, but why all of a sudden now? Like we're saying, if he had more of the views to try and pull out, if anything, of the area and try and just leave it alone, why all of a sudden was it just this event now that we've been bombing the heck out of that area for, you know, the past many years. We just haven't put a huge volley like this at one time recently. And I wonder why all of a sudden now. Is it because Mattis is in charge of the military now too? Or is it because of Trump? Or is it because everything else going on? I'm not sure, honestly.
I would think Mattis, from what I know about him, would have opposed this. Because
probably. I think so.
An unnecessary escalation in the conflict.
Mm-hmm.
Well, and there's not to mention that, like, okay, so if you take it as a given that Assad is a sociopathic dictator, if you use that as a given, okay, say we wave a magic wand and we magically get rid of him, doesn't that just create another Iraq situation, just a power vacuum, and then
that it does.
ISIS will just spread westward, and then they got more territory. That you know, hurrah for the caliphate, because another secular dictator has been removed,
right.
You know.
Well, I mean, didn't we originally prop up Assad in the first place there, or at least arm him and stuff like that for that movement a while ago?
I'm not
right.
I'm not 100% sure about that, but
at least that's what I remember.
I wouldn't doubt it.
Yeah.
Right. So, I mean, it literally is kind of an Iraq all over again with you propping up Saddam, and then, oh, crap, he's getting too uppity. Got to knock him down, you know, get someone else in there.
Yeah, the U.S. is good at that.
Right. Yeah. So, is it a surprise? No, and not to me.
Do you guys know what the first democracy in the Middle East was?
Iran, right?
Iran.
Yeah.
And what happened to their democracy?
Yeah, they
The United States overthrew it
Yep.
because they wouldn't sell us their oil cheap
yeah.
enough.
So we instate the Shah, which was a brutal person, brutal
every bit
dictator.
as bad as Assad,
Yep.
these other guys.
And
Right.
that's what Ron Paul's talked about that for years, about how like we, you know, I have his book, not Ron Paul's book, but Chalmers Johnson's. I have a couple of his books at home. I haven't started to read them yet, but one of them is called Blowback, and that's what the CIA calls something like that, where we have a foreign intervention and it's seemingly good and humanitarian, right? But in this case, it's not. But even if it was good, a couple of years down the road, or even a couple decades down the road, all of a sudden, bam!
Mm-hmm.
And in the Iranian case, we had the Ayatollah Khomeini, you know, revolution. And what was that? The 70s, early 70s?
Late 70s.
Late 70s. And so that
influenced the election in 1980.
Yeah. So we
put Ronald Reagan in.
Right. So we basically created a proto-caliphate, not completely a caliphate, but it might as well be. It's Islamic law, you know.
I don't know if the Shah was so Islamic. Well, it is
not
now.
The Shah, the
afterwards,
the Islamic Revolution, you know, that took place. The Shah was secular, but still brutal.
So I see what you mean by we created it. Yeah.
We may not have literally created the Iranian state as it is now, but the blowback from our interventions in the land as a result of that.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it puts a whole like monkey wrench in the idea of neoconservative nation building, you know, and it sounds great. It's like, okay, we'll build democracies or whatever. Allegedly, in that case, we didn't even build a democracy.
No.
And in a lot of cases, to fight communism, we would create non-communist dictatorships, and it's unbelievable. Like I love personally, I love, and I would die fighting for our Western values, you know, that we got from the Enlightenment: free speech, free thought, you know, just free discourse, public discourse, right, without fear of violence or state violence. But we tout that. It's like America's got the America as a state has this what is it, double think, you know, believing two opposite things at the same time. We believe in these Western Enlightenment values, but at the same time we'll support Saudi Arabia. And
that's happening in America too. 15 states right now have laws going through their legislative system to criminalize protesting.
Wow. That's one thing we've talked about quite a bit on this podcast, is just how freedom of speech is receding almost. It seems as if, and like, I read a lot of stuff about the left, what they call what's been coined by like Majid Nawaz, called it the regressive left, which is influenced by Marxism and postmodernism, which think that you shouldn't be, especially on college campuses, that you can't, there's trigger warnings, safe spaces, you can't say anything offensive. And I know Brent's laughing because I bitch about this all the time.
That's a slippery slope. As soon as you start dictating what speech is acceptable, now whoever's
then it's all perspective and who's making the rules, and
that's the thing.
It comes down to,
you expand all this power, and again, you have good intentions. Well, we don't want to hurt people's feelings and offend them. And then all of a sudden, 5 years from now, a crazy moron is in charge all of a sudden, and he has the power to control your speech.
Yeah, that's not 5 years from now.
Right now. Well, for our foreign policy since World War II has been to expand the executive branch exponentially. And this is what a lot of people, like especially libertarians, have argued against this for this exact reason, that someday we're going to elect internet connection. How are we doing with internet?
It's good. It's back.
Okay. That someday we're going to elect a crazy man. And what do you know? You know, now we're there. You know, right wing or left wing. And I know, I mean, I have a varied perspective, you know, diet in terms of the books I read and the media. I read right wing media, left wing media, centralist media, libertarian. I read everything just to get all the perspectives, you know. And there's certain things with the right wing as it stands now that I can get behind, that they're against the regressive left control of freedom of speech. But the irony is that, well, there's a lot of, I can't see that if the right wing is in charge that they're going to be tolerant of opposing viewpoints either.
Right.
Especially the alt-right, the alt-right, whatever that means.
Yeah, that's counter to the control that is important to those folks.
Like I just read a 100-page essay by Lauren Southern. I don't know if you've heard of her. She's from Canada, but she's a super right-wing. I'm sure, Brent, you've heard of her, right?
Yeah.
You've probably seen her on YouTube or something. She's part of the Rebel Media, which is a super right-wing alternative news site or something.
Is she further to the right than that Tommy Lauren?
I don't know.
Oh, God.
I'm not familiar with who's Tommy Lauren.
She's kind of been quieter lately, but she's that blonde chick that was like just super rah-rah right-wing, but not like...
She got fired.
Right. Oh, is that why? I see. Yeah, I didn't even know.
She criticized Breitbart, and that cost her job.
Okay.
Gotcha.
That's interesting. Well, this woman is not affiliated with Breitbart, but she wrote a piece. She wrote a piece about about millennials, because she's out Brent and I's age, around there, about how millennials are going to screw up America, but their minds have been screwed by various things, including the baby boomers and the new left. Yeah, you guys, the new left, and postmodern Marxism, Derridian postmodernism, and stuff like that. And a few things I can agree with her on, but at the same time, half of the book, or not even book, I wouldn't say book, essay, it's only 100 pages, was just a big endorsement of Trump and of nationalism. And she thinks that nationalism is she's anti-globalist is what it is.
Mm-hmm.
So she wants us to go tribal even more than we have been.
That's basically, she makes an argument that nationalism is not only not bad, but great. And I don't think I'm open to reading anything, right? But she did, in my opinion, she didn't make a very cohesive argument of why nationalism is a good thing.
Right, just kind of spewing it out there.
The best thing she could come up with that was anti-globalist was that open borders destroys cultures.
Is that a bad thing?
Well, if you think that destroying cultures isn't a good thing, that automatically means that you think that some cultures are better than others, right? But if you think, I would argue that certain parts of certain cultures are better than others.
And those parts will thrive. Like the French will always be known for their wine and their cooking, even as their culture becomes more homogenized.
Yeah.
From all the influx of Muslims and other North Africans moving in.
Well, that's basically, this whole book was just one long argument against specifically Muslim migration. Basically, I'm going to say it's twofold. It's one, an endorsement of Trump, even though she wrote this when he was already elected, but an endorsement of him.
Oh, he would like that. He would like that. He needs that type of
And the second thing was like this. She's like kind of aligned with like Gavin McInnes and stuff like that. I don't know if you've heard of him. He's been on Fox a few times. I think he was part of Vice too, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Co-founder of Vice.
Yeah, he was one of the co-founders, correct?
Yeah, with Shane Smith, and Shane Smith is very left, so it's interesting that they were involved together. But yeah, and it's just, she kind of like puts all these things. She really puts Donald in an interesting spot, that he's going to do this and do that and do this. And I'm like, okay, so at one point you're going to praise the Enlightenment of being an independent thinker, right? And praise individualism versus collectivism. But how can you praise individualism and be a nationalist at the same time? That seems almost kind of like a contradiction, wouldn't it be?
I would think so. I mean, you can still, some forms of nationalism, you can still be an individualist, but you still have to stand up and wave the flag and band together,
yeah.
The same people that are anti-identity politics have their own kind of identity politics. They have patriotism or nationalism or whatever you want to call it. They identify with this dirt that they were born on. you know,
Right.
which is really, if you want to break it down to bare bones, America is, like, what are you loyal to specifically, right? In terms of, that's the problem I have with nationalism is, what are you loyal to? Obviously, it's not the government, right? That's what their argument is, that government's terrible, you know?
Right.
But, so that leaves culture or the land. And being loyal to a piece of dirt doesn't make a lot of sense. Being loyal to ideas is a different thing. And, you know, and that's where, if I was going to be loyal to ideas, it would be the Western Enlightenment. Because I think the Western Enlightenment is ideas that are applicable and universal to all human beings.
And many Eastern philosophies are applicable to everyone.
There's a lot of, and Buddhism is a wonderful philosophy, you know. You can, I think the Buddhists, but also the Buddhists are open to criticism, you know, without violence, almost always.
Dalai Lama, he's one wise person.
Dalai Lama, Confucius, Lao Tzu, lots of Eastern philosophers, you know, Asaka, Gandhi, you name them, right? But her main argument about Islam is that it's incompatible with American culture as she sees it, you know, and certain parts of Islam, I can agree with that on. Like, I don't think that women should be forced to wear the burqa. I don't think that
many Islamic tribes don't force women to wear the burqa.
Right. But
some do.
In terms of certain interpretations of Islam, same thing with interpretations of Christianity.
Christianity, the Catholic Church used to force nuns to wear the habit all the time.
Right.
How's that different than the burqa?
Well, I think that I have a problem personally with like, I see it as ironic that feminists are siding with Islam, because if you look at the Islamic world, you just look at a graph of the Islamic world in terms of human rights or in terms of women's rights, they don't rank very high on the scale, you know.
But then you take some Muslim countries, and they were way advanced over the U.S. Who's building these graphs? Who's feeding this propaganda about the Muslim culture? Afghanistan used to have women doctors, women professors, until an extreme fundamentalist Islamic sect took over the country.
Well, the opposing argument to that would be, like Sam Harris, for example, would say this, or Christopher Hitchens, when he was alive, would say that, that form of Islam is the purest form of Islam. What we would call extreme, ISIS or Al-Qaeda would call, this is pure Islam. I mean, and they quote directly from the Hadith and the Quran. Directly. This is and there's plenty of horrible shit in the Bible, don't get me wrong. But there aren't that many groups that are going to grab the Bible and use it to oppose women's rights and gay rights. I don't really think that's
been the discourse over the years when opposition rose up. I had a friend who's in the military, still my friend. I'm not going to put his name up here on this.
Okay.
But he was pretty high up in the military. And for years, I heard the argument first against women in the military. And when you looked at the historical arguments about blacks in the military, it was the same type of reasoning.
Right.
Then they applied that same type of reasoning to gays in the military.
Right.
Now they're using that same type of reasoning for trans in the military. I mean, it's just they recycle the same reasoning and apply it to whatever group is trying to gain the respect and stature that comes with being successful in the nation's military.
But I think that it's different in the case that as far as being black or being a trans person, being a gay person, being a woman, these are things intrinsically, that they are intrinsic parts of oneself. Being a Muslim isn't, you know. I think it's discriminatory. Like, okay, for example, one problem I have is the term Islamophobia. I think that's a very ambiguous and confusing term because it conflates bigotry with criticism of Islam. Criticism of Islam.
Some people do, yes.
I think a lot on the left seem to side with this, that criticizing Islam makes you a racist. I think you're hard-pressed to call Ayan Hirsi Ali a racist or Majid Nawaz a racist, Ali Rizvi. These are all brown-skinned people of Middle Eastern descent. Now, the other thing is that Islam isn't a race.
No,
it's a religion. Criticizing Christianity doesn't make you a racist.
No.
Not to say that people criticizing Islam might not have a racist motive, that they are against Arabic people.
I would say it depends on how you criticize it. If you're
Right.
making a blanket statement that this atrocity occurs from all Muslims, they're all jihadists, that's
obviously
not
wrong.
true.
Right. Of course not.
And I would prefer to use it as anti-Muslim bigotry, used a different term.
That's perfect. That's the problem. That's the reasoning I had. I posted a video about this, that I think the term anti-Muslim is much more clear, that you hate Muslims as people. That hating Muslims as people and criticizing the religion are two very different things. But the wording that seems to be used on the left is that criticizing Islam makes you a racist. That there's a lot of that seems to kind of float around online, especially, that you're just a racist. And that, I mean, the accusations of racism is thrown around so much.
Well, I would think they'd be more accurate if they try to call it being a bigot rather than a racist. But I'm not sure it is. I mean, you can criticize something. Just be careful, the jihadists are going to come get you if you criticize Islam.
That's why Ayan Hirsi Ali has paid bodyguards at all times.
Yes. Who was the guy that wrote the book a few years ago that had to live?
Salman Rushdie.
Yeah.
Rushdie. Yep. He wrote the Satanic Verses, and the Ayatollah Khomeini of Iran declared a fatwa and marked him for death, and he still has to hide out. It's just that I would go back to the Enlightenment, and that the Islamic world hasn't had an Enlightenment, that it's basically, these countries are still they're medieval in the sense of their worldview.
I would say segments of the country, and they happen to be the ones in power right now, are
definitely
medieval in their perspective.
Right. And I remember you telling me about, there's a lot of people, younger generations in Iran and Saudi, that completely aren't on board with it,
right?
But they
totally
can't
against it.
But speaking out publicly would mean death, right?
Especially in Saudi.
Yeah, which are our closest allies, almost closer than Israel, which is ironic.
It depends on who we want to be mad at. Which one's
honestly. But yeah, I think that's the point Chase is trying to make, is that it really is bigotry and, against Muslim people and stuff like that, instead of just making this blanket statement of it being Islamophobic, which, it seems to be the narrative now that, oh, you're an Islamophobe, blah, blah, blah. If you bring up anything, it tends to go that way, not just in kind of the lefty talking people like that, but even just on Facebook or some sort of social media where you get a lot of people together with differing views. It's always a good thing, right? Well, but if you speak your mind about these certain topics, even people who wouldn't necessarily identify as left or whatever tend to be outraged and immediately just call you the Islamophobe or something along those lines, just for making any comments.
If you're fearful of something just because it might be Islamic, then that's, I would say, is Islamic. How do you say that term?
Islamophobia.
Islamophobia, but that's a psychological term. A phobia is a psychological. It's an irrational fear.
Right.
I mean, you see these posts from people who are trying to say there's Sharia law in Dearborn. Give me a break. That's been a Muslim community for years. A large number of Muslims. There's never been any push to incorporate Sharia law into the.
Right. Right, they don't have the police force going around enforcing all these laws, Sharia law and other things like that, for sure.
Well, there's also been polling done, a majority of, I can't remember the source, so feel free to criticize me, but there was a polling done of UK Muslims recently that they support a majority or a very strong minority of Muslims in the UK, in a Western country, support criminalizing homosexuality. That's a fact. I can't remember the exact source, but I'll trust Sam Harris to.
I do remember hearing that, and I can't remember who said it and where the source was, but I do remember hearing that.
So all of Islam is obviously not extremists. They're not jihadists, but there's a lot of very conservative Muslims that are still on board with a lot of these archaic ideas, and they have a very strong influence.
But that's true of the conservatives in any form of religion. I'm sure you've heard of Rick Santorum.
Definitely. But
well, he wants to criminalize homosexuality.
He wants to criminalize homosexuality?
Yeah.
Well, nobody voted for him, at least.
Well, he got enough votes in Pennsylvania. He was a senator for 1 term or 2 terms.
Yeah, that's true. So obviously we have a problem there. The religious fundamentalist right,
whichever religion the fundamentalists want to
impose their viewpoint on the world. So I have a problem with any religion wanting to do that for any reason. So that includes Christianity.
I agree.
But I think it's wrong to use this blanket term of Islamophobia on people that say that you read that poll and you say that's bullshit, that's wrong, you can't impose your religion. People that have said stuff like that, Ayaan Hirsi Ali, Maajid Nawaz, they were put on Southern Poverty Law Center's list, top 10 or 20 list of radical Islamophobes. And Maajid Nawaz Ayaan Hirsi is an atheist, so she's an apostate, right? So maybe you could make the disgusting case that she's anti-Islam. But Maajid Nawaz is a moderate Muslim and is trying to reform the religion. But he's been put on a list that he's anti-Muslim bigot, which is completely hilarious,
Yeah, that would be. I didn't even know the Southern Poverty Center categorized their lists that way.
Right.
I looked it up and I found it on their website, and they dissected his viewpoints as if he's like a fraud trying to make money through his Quilliam Foundation or something. So it's like, well,
geez, there goes another one of my iconic groups shot down the tubes.
Yeah, see, you know what? Just before we started the podcast, Brent, we were talking about how do we solve the problem of like fake news and trying to find truth in the news media, and this has been a major theme of our podcast so far.
Yeah, that's the dissemination of information so easily in today's world is what makes fake news possible. What's undermining the credibility of any and all news organizations.
Right, and the fact that you
CBS got their asses handed to them for publishing fake statistics to promote the government's stand in Vietnam.
Really? Yeah, it doesn't surprise me.
Well, yeah, and plus now more than ever, there's more money to be made out of being sensational from it. But also, all this information is an easy way to prove that they're wrong at the same time, like you were just saying, how all these statistics are coming back in their face. So I wonder if it'll eventually balance out here where they'll have to start actually, coming to truth with a lot more factual information, because people will be right on their heels now that they have this kind of branded as, non-factual news. If, with all this other information that people could dig up, they might actually really start losing credibility bad enough to start really losing business if they don't like bring it around back to truthful.
So they change their name and come out a different way with the same
garbage. True. It's easy to do that nowadays too. I mean, this podcast even is a good example of how you can easily just start up your own.
Yeah, that stuff in the background behind you can get your ass in a lot of trouble here.
Well, our buddy Christian, he was on the not the last podcast, but the one before that. He's got a big American flag with, I think, is an AR-15 sitting underneath. So he probably looks like a militiaman or something. Yeah. And in my apartment, I have the Buddha behind me.
Damn
Eastern philosopher. I support the Western Enlightenment, but
I'll have a hunting rifle.
Yeah. Actually, that's why it's out. I was cleaning it for I was shooting a while ago. I never got a good clean through it, so that's what I was doing before this.
Are you planning to go hunting soon? Or?
Yeah, tags are coming up soon. Going out Wyoming to go hunt antelope later this fall.
No, I was going to say, this time of the year, there's usually not many hunting seasons anywhere.
No.
The babies are getting born.
Yeah.
Right. But you got to get on those tags early, you know, if you want to go out, especially coming out of state to go there. So
Yeah. Yeah, I think Steve Ranella said that, like, getting the tags in the out west is pretty expensive, especially if you're an out-of-stater.
Right.
Even more or something.
Yeah, in-state, especially I think like Idaho and stuff like that, it's actually, they do a lot of good deals for people in-state. But out-of-state, you know, it's almost kind of like a tourist thing in a way.
Yeah.
So they could charge quite a bit more.
I mean, if I was a state, I would do that.
Right.
An out-of-state deer hunter in Michigan now has to pay $190 just to get a deer tag.
Oh, my gosh.
Wow, really?
One deer tag, huh?
Dang.
Wow.
That's ridiculous. Like
$200 to kill one deer.
Yeah, and how many deer are there? Like, there's a real deer issue, and it costs that much to shoot deer now?
Yeah, I have friends from what they always run our farmhouse on our property up north every year at deer camp, and they always lived in Michigan, but now they live in Indiana. And when they come back now, even though they own property just down the road from us, they own 6 acres of land.
Yep.
Because the residence is in Indiana, 10 miles over the border, they have to pay the $190.
Damn.
Oh, my goodness.
That's ridiculous.
So what do you think as a hunter? What do you think of this law change? I'm assuming it's true because I saw it in both credible and non-credible news sources that they can now go kill bears who are hibernating even if they have cubs there.
Hibernating, huh? I haven't heard anything about this, actually. Is it just a Michigan thing?
No, it's primarily Alaska.
Oh, okay. I don't know. If you've got enough balls to really, like, I guess they're sleeping, right? But to come up on a bear, especially with cubs and hibernating, it doesn't take a whole ton to really wake them up. You know what I mean? Like, they'll still wake up out of hibernation.
Right, still, you know, when they're hibernating, you know, is that sporting?
No, ethically like that, I definitely no. Like, even just me personally, if I had the time to get back into bow hunting, I would, and like, because is pretty much, besides throwing sticks at something, that's the closest to your roots you can get, and that's
you're not gonna jump on a bear as a human being and strangle it to death.
Right? No, exactly.
Fighting, right?
And this is what I tell. I have a lot of friends who are deer hunters here in Michigan. This is what I tell them: they're not out hunting; they're out ambushing the deer.
Right, and
they go sit in the blind, and some poor little deer comes walking by.
Yeah, and baiting them too. You know, exactly. They have bait piles and everything. No, I have no interest in that kind of hunting. That's why, like, going out west for the antelope, it's all stalking hunting. You're hiking miles and miles a day, going over ridges, trying to track them and find them and stuff like that. I have no interest in just sitting in a blind all day, freezing my butt off.
Most antelope shots are 200 to 300 yards too, aren't they?
At least, yeah. Sometimes. A couple buddies who I'm actually going with, last fall they went, and easily it was like 300-400 yards they were making shots. You know, you can't, especially on antelope, because they're real skittish and super fast.
Yeah,
you can't even get within 100 yards easily, you know. So
that's big country out there. Yeah, it's got to be a couple hundred yards.
Yeah. So
out west a few years ago with my daughter and her family, we were out in the prairies in South Dakota. I never really understood the term vast until I got there. My gosh.
Oh, yeah.
From horizon to horizon, you see nothing.
Mm-hmm.
I went when I was probably about 10 years old. My family and my parents and I and my grandmother went to South Dakota to see Mount Rushmore specifically.
Yeah, we saw that one.
And parts of Crazy Horse Monument being built, you know, is in the process of being
still being built.
Is it still being built? Man, it's a long time, man. I think they said 2020 or something.
Yeah, they don't have any money is the problem.
They don't have any money.
Raising money.
Right. Well, yeah, but then that's exactly like you say. You stand outside, and aside from a couple trees and a couple buildings, it's just just vast grassland, hills and grassland going on forever. And I just immediately, I picture now, like, just say you decide to go on one of those famous TV movie cross-country road trips, you know, and you get with your buddies and you get in the car and you head west. And it's just once you get west of the Mississippi, it's a whole lot of nothing, you know, and you might end up that's where you get into horror movie territory, right?
Horror movie territory.
I have a coworker Bill, who was a truck driver. He's about mid-60s, and he was a truck driver for decades. He's a rah-rah Trump supporter. You'd really like him, Mr. Sargent. But he used to drive around the country all the time, and he said, like, Texas and Iowa, they're terrible driving through.
Be boring, yes.
He hated Texas the most. He said it's just forever.
Well, yeah, I did that just almost a year ago now. We drove from Houghton all the way over to just north of L.A. for the Baja race. And I'll tell you, like, yeah, we went – Nebraska is the worst, honestly. that one was the worst. I liked the desert, and I liked Wyoming because it was at least rolling and there was grass and other cool kind of features. But Nebraska was flat plains and – nothing. Like, it rained the whole time. It was just gross. But I love Colorado. I love the desert. California was okay. And then it was nice. And then the Dakotas were nice. We came further north to hit Mount Rushmore and stuff like that on the way back. So we didn't go back through Nebraska because it was gross anyway. But yeah, seeing all of that was like a great experience, honestly, and big eye-opening. And it really instilled my like want to eventually move into like Colorado or Nevada kind of area.
Yeah, and then all of us will never see you again.
Yeah, right.
Oh, Nevada's gorgeous. Some of their state national parks out there.
Mm-hmm.
I've only seen a couple of them. Zion and
yeah. We actually drove through Zion also on our way out. We didn't like stop or anything really, but it was nice just to even just drive through all this stuff. It was awesome.
Oh, yeah, the vistas are spectacular driving through Nevada.
Right.
There's so much, it's just, you know, people always talk about wanting, you know, their top 10 countries or whatever they want to see in the world. But if you really think about it, you could spend a whole lifetime just in the United States looking around at everything. You know, it would take you forever to get around and see everything. You probably wouldn't see everything.
Yeah.
Obviously.
Honestly, yeah.
Aside from Nebraska, a couple other places where there's nothing to see. There's lots of, you know, Michigan's got a lot of beautiful places to see. In the UP and in northern Michigan, you know, Torch Lake, Higgins Lake. There's lots of great places.
That's one of the things I want to do this summer is go spend time at one of the interstellar dark parks. Actually, there's only one in Michigan.
Oh yeah,
where's that at?
West of Mackinac, between Mackinac and Cross Village.
Oh, okay.
When you get out there, it's one of 6 or 7 in the whole world.
That's interesting.
Wow. So it's just like that dark that it's considered that?
The light pollution has to be measured at less than 0.0001 or something like that.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
There's not even like a town or anything nearby probably. Nope. That would generate too much light. Like Oxford's probably way above that, right?
Plus, you've got Pontiac and Lake Orion and everything's so close.
Yeah, all the suburb, all these. Yeah, exactly.
I would imagine Isle Royale would be pretty cool, but you got to ride it to get out there.
Right. I was on Isle Royale for 10 days. I don't know, 4 years ago now? And that was amazing. Like half the time it was raining, unfortunately. But the other, honestly, the whole experience, even when it was raining, was awesome because you're on Superior. So when it's raining, it's like a crazy storm and huge rollers coming in. And then at night, you know, it's nothing around. And when it was nice out, it's like a totally different world than you're used to, honestly.
Yeah.
And even just little areas of the island can completely change the type of forest and the type of the dirt and everything around it. And then you go to all the little chain islands that are around it there, and those are even their own little ecosystem. It kind of reminds me as if I were to go visit like the Galapagos Islands or something like that. It's its own northern, you know, version of it.
So you guys had kayaks up there?
We rented some while we were there. We didn't take any, but yeah, kayaks and canoes. We went up and down a couple of the, I can't remember which little bays they were, but that was a lot of fun too. Pretty windy. It was a, you had to be pretty strong rower to do it, but.
Yeah, I can imagine. Just, out in the open water like that.
Yeah. Not to be an ass, but the correct term is paddler.
Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, and there you go. Galapagos Islands. There's like, a billion
I would
things.
love to go there.
A billion things to see,
Yep.
Madagascar is like that. And,
getting back to what we started out talking in the infamous words of Rodney King from years and years ago, why can't we all just learn to get along?
Right.
Sounds so simple.
It is simple. Then we let greed and avarice and other emotions get in the way.
Mm.
Well,
Lust.
Yeah.
I think partially is just people don't have that experience to be like, go out in the woods and be like, oh, this is amazing. They're either like, they choose not to because it's maybe scary or they're more comfortable just staying at home, or they don't make the time to, and they're too busy like with their jobs or with doing other things, that they like, oh, I'm not going to make time to just go explore. And you learn new things, even if you're not just going for a hike, learn something new about the ecosystem, go watch, Planet Earth or something, and be like, oh, that's amazing. I want to go do this now, kind of a thing,
Well, aren't people kind of like stuck in their phones nowadays to really?
That's part of it too, I'm sure.
I mean, we're like, I criticize people like that, but I'm just as guilty as everybody else. I
criticize them by typing on your phone.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
They need to get off their phones.
Right, exactly.
I'll sit in my recliner on this laptop right here for hours. Don't even realize how much time I'm spending on it.
Not even necessarily going out to the ecosystems, going around and meeting different people in their homes, in their cultures, and learning about it. That's my only qualm. I love to watch Anthony Bourdain, if you've ever seen him.
Yep, I've watched his show.
Oh, yeah.
I like him.
Show.
All the weird foods that these guys eat. I'm not an adventurous eater.
And Andrew Zimmern,
he's
bizarre
just
foods.
Stupid.
He's insane.
Some crazy stuff.
He said there was something, what was it, like it was some kind of Swedish, that they're weird up there.
Oh,
what is it
I
called?
know exactly what you're talking about.
It's fish, right?
Yeah. This is actually a dish my wife's family like to eat, the older ones. It's called lutefisk.
Yeah, that's it.
Andrew Zimmern did not like it. And Anthony Bourdain did not like it.
Yeah.
Not Anthony Bourdain, who was the guy that was on Man vs. Food.
Adam Richmond,
yeah. Neither of them liked it.
And those are two hefty eaters.
Right, yeah. Like, I'm sure they can just eat anything, basically, and they didn't like it, huh?
Lutefisk is nasty stuff. They actually soak it overnight in lye, which is a poison.
Right.
Then they wash it with a salt brine to make it edible so you don't get poisoned. And I mean,
why?
Like, none of it clears a room.
Oh. Like, who came up with that? Was it really that bad of a time where they were starving that bad?
But it's a Swedish holiday dish.
Oh, so it's a celebrational dish too. What the heck?
Well, keep in mind, I mean, these are the people that are descendants of the Vikings.
Mm-hmm.
That's
that was the Norway. Norse.
I think it's
that whole area, honestly.
Right? Like Denmark, Norway.
Right. Well, the Norway and the Norse,
Finland.
I think, were like the main area. But it's a hop, skip, and a jump away.
But there's a lot of blood ethnic mixing in Ireland and England that have a lot of Viking descendants there too.
The Vikings came in. Vikings.
Came.
Vikings
pronunciation.
Did a lot of raping and pillaging, so they left their genetic structure there.
Those damn Vikings.
Vikings.
Oh, this is going to look good when you guys post it.
Yeah.
Right.
Do you identify as a Viking? The beard's coming in.
That makes me think of the guy in Star Trek who would talk V's that way. And he's now a comedian. George Takei.
Yeah.
He was Lieutenant, what the hell was his name?
Sulu.
No, Sulu was the...
George Takei was Sulu. You're thinking of Chekhov.
Chekhov. That's who it was. Yeah, Chekhov.
Right.
Weaker.
Yeah.
Vikings.
He died. Then the remake. Well, actually, the original Chekhov died not too long ago too. But Anton Yelchin, the guy who played the younger guy in the remake, he got crushed by a car or something like that.
Yeah. It was some sort of car accident type of thing, if I remember correct.
And he's around our age, I think, too, Brent.
Something, not much older, I don't think.
Super young.
I was surprised, but here we go. Let's get into a little movie gossip. The guy who played the captain.
Captain America, dude?
No, way back in the original.
The original series?
William
Shatner.
William Shatner and the Black Lieutenant, who was the communications person.
Yeah.
They actually had a thing going on set.
Nichelle.
Oh, damn.
And I guess they had to keep a hush-hush because at that time in the 60s, that was not cool for a black
man. Right, I'm sure.
Well, they had the first interracial kiss on television.
Yes.
There, it was Nichelle Nichols, right? I think it was
I don't remember her name.
It makes sense. That rings a bell.
She had an Irish name, Lieutenant O'Hannon or
Uhura.
Uhura.
With a U.
With a U. That's
so
right. It wasn't
not Irish.
No, it was with a U. Well, it was an Irish who didn't know how to spell.
Yeah, here, let me expose myself as a pathetic nerd that I know all this stuff. Here, let me go a little bit further. I've watched the entire original series, all of the Next Generation, all of Deep Space Nine, and all of Enterprise, which is a prequel.
And you've probably seen all the Star Wars movies.
I've seen all the Star Wars movies. I like to pretend that the prequel movies don't exist because those are horrific.
Yeah. Well, no, I like the one I just saw, the one that came out about a year ago.
Oh, the kind of middle prequel movie?
No, it takes place after the original series, so it's in the further in the future.
No. It wasn't the future.
Oh no, you're talking about Rogue One.
Rogue One.
That was after.
Rogue One is like 3.5 or 4.5 or something.
Right. In chronology, it's between the prequels and the original series, right? Okay. I haven't seen that one. Was it good?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I haven't seen it yet either.
One I did just see, and I think it's really good. But it was the one where
The Force Awakens, right?
The Force Awakens, where the girl finds Luke Skywalker on the island.
Yeah, that takes place after.
Yeah, that's the one that's in the future. But Rogue One was good.
I really wanted to see Rogue One because
I won't tell you anything about it.
Please don't.
Spoiler alert.
Yeah. Have you seen it, Brent?
No, I've not. I haven't seen either of the newer Star Wars.
You haven't seen The Force Awakens, really?
I've not seen any Disney Star Wars.
That's what I do when I get together with my grandkids. We go see a movie every time we get together now. They're teenagers, and they like the Star Wars and the Star Trek and that stuff, so we go see them.
Does it make me old now? Am I officially in the old category that I wait till it's on Amazon? Or
No, you're in the cheap category.
Here's what I think. This is kind of sad, but I'm like, man, that movie just came out, and I'm like, well, I gotta go drive there and deal with people, and they don't serve beer there. I don't want to go there.
There's an advantage. Every movie theater anywhere around here serves beer. So
we're in Wisconsin. All you guys do is drink there.
I bet they serve cheese too.
Yep, and burgers and brats, anything meat related and cheese related and beer related.
You guys have windows where you shoot deer outside.
Right. Yep.
While you're watching the movie, hey, look.
Oh, we do that. Yeah,
Well, that's a funny story. When I had all the guys come up to my cabin at Higgins Lake, like Alex Pollock, Connor McGarry, Shane Carbelis. I'm sure you probably remember a few of those guys.
I remember a few of the names. So.
Yeah, but the first thing we went shopping, and like our shopping turns into this.
Oh God, it's just like
$300.
Oh, this looks good. This looks good.
$300.
Beer, I hope.
A lot of beer.
Okay.
A lot of booze.
A lot of
there you go.
Food.
A lot of food. Yeah, meat. And then like 10% of it is everything else, But like
that's all you need. Meat and whiskey and beer.
Right?
That's a weekend, man.
Yeah, exactly. And we were looking. Brent was over looking at cheese. It's like, oh, everything's so goddamn expensive here. And I'm like, yeah, we don't have the luxury of Wisconsin cheese.
Right, and I was trying to find just good, decent burgers. Like, there wasn't any. They had, like, the crappiest burgers ever that were, like, super like, you could just tell they were garbage. And then we ended up cooking them up, and they were just full of, like sinew and...
Spend the extra money to get ground sirloin. That's good wherever you go.
Well, we couldn't even just find normal truck. Like,
we were lazy because we saw that these pre-made burger patties.
Which end of the lake are you on, north or south side?
I'm on the south side.
So you're near Houghton Lake then?
Yeah, southwest
Yeah, there's
side.
nothing down by Houghton Lake. Up on the north side, Roscommon's got some nice grocery stores.
Well, maybe we should go there next time.
yeah, next time we'll have to go that way.
We went to Walmart,
Well, there's your problem.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
We're expecting to have good meat at Walmart.
Right.
They shipped it in from China.
Yeah. China.
China.
But yeah, we bought these pre-made burger patties, and that's already a sign that it's going to suck. We should have known that.
Yeah.
And we cooked them, and we bit into these things, and it was like chunks of like the texture of like chicken fat. It was horrendous.
Well, and like the just like grizzle basically is what it reminded me of in there too. Just
that's an
roast
excuse
cartilage.
to throw the burgers away and get the wiki out and get even more loaded.
Right.
Well, we took them we're trying to eat them, and we were extremely drunk at this point, right?
Yeah.
And we were that drunk, and we still couldn't.
And
eat
you
these.
still couldn't.
Yeah.
Eat them. Wow.
I mean, I'm like, what the fuck is this? And Brent's like, no, the flavor's all right. The texture's what's screwed up. And I'm like, screw this. I was the first one. I threw it right in the fire. And then Alex Bach's like, yeah, fuck this. He threw it in the fire, and everybody threw it in the fire.
You're a leader, Chase. You're a leader.
Yeah.
I think it's not me being a leader. It's me being everybody else. We're all trying to tough it out and eat it, and I was the first one to wuss out, forget it.
Yeah. Almost the opposite in that case.
Yeah,
Just
exactly.
what's out. Yeah.
Oh, it's a good time.
Mhm.
Otherwise, some ice cream truck driver, some hot babe. We all we scared her away.
Yeah.
Probably.
Yeah.
Come here, Sophie.
Yeah. I hardly
Here's
remember.
my cat. She's always wanted to be famous.
Aw,
Say hi, Sophie.
It's okay, sweetheart. It's okay.
She does not like to be. She'll come up and let you pet her all day long, but don't pick her up.
Don't pick her up.
Right.
What a little crab ass, huh?
Yeah, she can be.
Hey, sweetie, it's okay. Oh, all right. I won't touch you. She probably smells.
She's mad right now.
Oh, is she?
Yeah.
She smells the dog. My dog.
Yeah, sure.
So, are we going to survive Trump?
I think we'll survive Trump.
I mean,
It's hard to tell exactly how bad or good
right.
of an impact.
Nothing really has happened yet.
I think that
Well, he's got a carrier task force heading up to challenge Kim Jong-il in North Korea, and that dude's one crazy son of a gun.
I don't know. They don't even barely have their own power, so I'm not worried about North Korea.
But he's got nukes.
It blew up like seconds after launch, I thought.
Well, some missiles, but he's still got nukes. He's successfully detonated several nukes.
Yeah, I think if we bring in the fleet close enough to North Korea, at close range, they'll be able to detonate a nuke.
Right, maybe in that case.
As far as any kind of intercontinental weapon with
No,
long
he's
range,
not intercontinental, but
they
he can
won't
take
have
out
it.
Tokyo.
Yeah, well, or Seoul. I mean, if we move in, technically that war hasn't ended. The North and South Korea, the Korean War, what we call the Korean War, hasn't ended. And they have, even if North Korea didn't launch a nuclear attack, they have so much artillery and so much ordnance pointing directly at Seoul that it would be
Seoul's only like 70 miles south of the border.
and it would kill hundreds and hundreds of thousands.
But they got all the gamers in South Korea, man. They could defend the country.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
They'll just get on the computer and send
but-
some drones up there.
What's that new one that Schwarzenegger's advertising? Strike Force or
Mobile
something?
strike or something like that. Oh, yeah.
That's another ironic thing about him is when he was in charge of California, he's the one who made Grand Theft Auto San Andreas adult only, and has this crusade against video games, and now he's the poster boy for a video game.
Well, but it's a little different than having a video game where you can pull up and rape a hooker and then shoot her.
That's
instead
true.
Of paying her.
That's true.
And having a warfare where they can shoot back at you.
That's a good point. As far as ethics, if we want to talk about the ethics of video games, that'd be an interesting topic. We haven't discussed anything like that.
Yeah, Grand Theft Auto was something that I don't know, and I never played it, so I only know what I've read about it, which could be fake news.
Right. Well, I do know that there hasn't been any conclusive evidence as to negative effects of video games.
Oh yeah, there has been studies that show a desensitization.
I
Nothing that causes people to actually go out and be violent, but people will stand there and watch violence occur and not react.
But that's a bystander effect that's something that happened long before video games existed.
But there are studies. I have to go back and get them. I haven't looked them up since I quit teaching sociology class. But there are some definitive studies that definitely show a correlation to acceptance of violence, not to necessarily causing violence, but to accepting it.
I don't know if I really buy that though. Like the bystander effect.
Whatever you don't eat, I'll eat later. There's half of a cake.
You're a gamer, so you're not going to accept it.
No.
I'll eat it later. Just bring the piece to be nice.
I won't be able to eat it here.
Hey, Brad, quit interrupting the podcast. Yeah. Go away.
Oh, your attitude, Chase.
Hey, man, if you want to just join in, man, you're free to come in.
Would you turn down ice cream cake?
Look at this hungry
ice cream cake.
Hey, kneel down. I can't see your face. I don't know you.
Hey,
how you doing?
How's it going,
Brad? Hi, Brad.
This is Mr. Sargent.
I'm Dan.
Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you, sir.
Nice to meet you, too.
Okay, well, I'll put it in the freezer.
Put it in the freezer, please. Thank you.
Try to be nice. It's okay. Thank you.
I'm going to get a beer.
Nothing like informal broadcast.
Right?
Right.
That's what I like about this. I like that, and you agree with them or not, I like the Young Turks and the Dave Rubin report and Joe Rogan experience. I like this alternative media.
Right.
Yeah, I watch it. I do like it too. It's a little bit more authentic than the stage stuff you see it like it's
right.
or NBC.
I would definitely agree. Or it's more personal in a way. It's almost like you're sitting there having a conversation with them instead of just being talked at. You know. And I think a lot more information gets across that way. It's not just kind of listening. It's more interactive, even though you're not really just talking to the person.
The people, I try to make, like when I'm watching CNN and they have these panels on, I try to make it interactive, but usually all I get told is, they can't hear you, shut up.
Right. Well, and plus those panels are so dumb. Like, you're really going to be able to discuss like a really in-depth topic, like anything about Trump, anything about Syria, in about 5 minutes with 2 commercial breaks, kind of, that's exaggerated.
But, like discussions, it's just, I don't know, talk. I don't know the best way to describe it, but they don't get any depth. There's no rationale. It's, I like Trump.
Yeah, it's like, well, he did this, and someone else butts back, he did this, and then you got someone like Bill O'Reilly just yelling at the both of them. It's like, okay, that really went far in this conversation.
Yeah, that enlightened us a lot.
Right.
Yeah.
And commercial break. Oh, now we're on a different subject.
The dumbing down of the mainstream news, which has sold out to corporate America anyways. And now if you want in depth, you have to go with the alt news.
Right, for sure. And luckily, because of the internet, there's actually a lot of it now. Which, like we were saying kind of earlier, there's so much of it now that you actually have to pick and choose kind of like what is crazy and what is somewhat realistic, and then kind of fact check that back and forth. So it's a lot more work on your end. But if you put in the kind of work to find a kind of reputable source that you like, you do get so much more out of it compared to just flipping on Fox or flipping on CNN or flipping on NBC and seeing whatever comes at you.
And I have to admit, I've gotten a little lazy here lately that I don't go out and research it. And I hear too much of the stuff when I look at some of these other news shows, I'm just shaking my head. Mm-hmm. Like Tommy Lauren and that stuff.
Right.
And I don't know, I can't think of a comparable name on the left, but there are people there in the left who are just as crazy and idiotic and
Mm-hmm.
brainwashed as she was.
Rachel Maddow.
There's one. I don't like her.
What a maniac, crazy.
That's a good example. She's a good counterexample to Tommy Lawrence.
But there's lots of people on the left and right.
Tommy Lawrence is a lot cuter than Rachel Maddow, though.
Right.
There's something about Fox News and bringing in hot blondes all the time, isn't there?
Oh, they're known as the blonde. Look at me, network.
Megyn Kelly, Laura Ingraham, and there's probably more. I mean, I've been out of touch with Fox since I left my parents' house. I'll tell you what, like I take credit for keeping my mom kind of like right center, if not center, when I was there. But recently, I go over there now. My dad's got her like
way to the right.
Just Trump.
My wife, when I first got married, my wife was right wing. She grew up in a Republican family, and but by the time she died, she was further to the left than I was.
Oh, really? That's funny. It's interesting.
I guess that just goes to show how, easily people can change. A lot of people look, especially on political leaders, look down upon them flip-flopping a lot, which I don't necessarily think it's a good quality. But at the same time, like, people change their mind all the time. Like, maybe you were just given new information that you didn't know.
If they can rationalize why they changed their mind, then I think it's a good thing.
But I would agree.
Because I get better poll ratings if I flip-flop. That I don't care for.
Yeah.
Right. Yep. That's the same way I feel about it.
Yeah. Romney's a good example. Trump's a good example about how, he'll say one thing, and I love what Sam Harris said about it. He'll say, like, you know who Sam Harris is? He's a philosopher, neuroscientist, and he writes a lot of stuff. He's got his own podcast called Waking Up, and he talks a lot about politics and stuff.
Okay.
He's left center, I would say, a mixture between Democrat and Libertarian, But he voted for Clinton. He was a huge critic of Trump. Yeah, well, he did the lesser two evils thing,
Well, see, I refuse to do that. I've lived all my life hearing that stuff. Mm-hmm. I refuse to do it anymore.
Right. What good does it do,
Yeah.
Right.
For lesser two, we just end up in the same.
It's still evil, right?
It's still evil, yep.
I mean, I've met a few Trump supporters that supported Trump because of Trump. And the rest were anti-Clinton. I didn't meet a single person that was pro-Clinton. They were all anti-Trump,
Sophie, don't pee on his coat.
Uh-oh.
I'm just getting excited.
Please don't.
She just likes to smell stuff.
Cat piss is horrible.
20% of the people who voted for Trump did it because they didn't like Hillary.
Mm-hmm. Most of the people I met, and anecdotal evidence, obviously, but most of the people I met were just voting principally because they were anti Clinton.
Yeah. I went back to my roots, and I voted third party for the first time since '88.
Jill Stein, Green Party? Yeah. I voted.
My first 72, 76, 80, 84. My first 5 times voting for president, I voted third party.
Really? Wow.
Bill Clinton was the first time I voted.
That's crazy. I seem to be following your pattern. The last 2 times I voted third party, since I've been old enough to vote for president. I voted Libertarian both times, even though Gary Johnson's kind of.
I did not like him.
He's not very impressive.
Not the man for the job, but I knew, like, even voting for him, he wasn't gonna win. But all I wanted was break that 5% mark or whatever it needed to be to get him to get the Libertarian Party on the ballot. Yeah, that's all I wanted, really.
That's what we were hoping for, voting for the Greens too, was to get them up there. We need to get some other parties up there.
Yep, we need. I think. Take the top 5 major parties and put them on TV. Democrat, Republican, Libertarian, Green Party. I don't know what the 5th
that would certainly change the voting outcome if they got more publicity.
Mm-hmm.
The media is who made Trump president.
Of course. It's the media is who makes any of these people president.
Trump got over I've seen this from several different sources, over $2 billion of free advertising during the primary season.
Oh, I'm sure.
$2 billion
Oh
worth.
my God.
Because all he would do is make an outrageous statement.
Yep.
And guess what the news media is all talking about
He-
all day long?
He figured out how to do it. He just says
Oh, he's
crazy
a master
shit
manipulator of the
of the media.
Yeah.
Well, this is a guy who came from reality TV. Is anybody
Yeah,
really
right.
surprised that he's good at that? You know?
No,
I mean-
yeah. It's as dumb as he acts. He is very, very smart, and he knows how to get what he wants. Basically, you know.
He knows how to manipulate. I'm not going to give him credit for being smart. I don't think he is. But he does know how to read situations, and he does know how to manipulate.
Sure,
He
sure.
is excellent at that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He came in at precisely the perfect moment.
Oh, yeah.
I can't remember who I listened to, but he was a political analyst of some kind, and he mentioned how it was like the best moment because we had 8 years of a Democrat in office, and anytime you have 8 years of one of the major parties, the likelihood of the incumbent party to win again is very remote. Well, not remote, I wouldn't say remote, but the chances are not in their favor.
The laws are skewed against it.
Yeah, so he ran at the good moment. He ran against a field of Republicans that were just not impressive to the
No.
Republican base, obviously. Nobody wanted Jeb Bush. Vote for Jeb. You should have voted for Jeb.
Now you got Trump.
We
Well,
did.
And the Democrats didn't realize that people were pissed off.
Yep.
And
Right.
so what was the old standby?
Yeah.
Coronated Hillary. If
Right.
they would have wised up and understood that people were angry, legitimately angry in 2016, Bernie Sanders would be the president of the United States right now. And
I think so. I
we'd have
think
a whole
he probably
different
would have won.
pissed off.
I think, that's also, it could be, well, at the same time, I mean, to play devil's advocate for that, say that Sanders did achieve the Democratic nomination and Trump achieved the Republican nomination. Do you think that potentially a hefty group of center people would be like, wow, I have a choice between radical left or radical right?
But Sanders isn't radical right. If you go back and you look at the history of issues in the United States, in the 1950s and early 1960s, Sanders was a mainstream Democrat.
Well, he seems
Our politics have skewed to the right over the last 40 years.
he's portrayed as being far more left wing than conventional Democrats
Well,
as
yeah.
they stand right now. And as far as Democrats in their self-declaration, they're not even close to being as left wing.
But if you go through and look at the polls issue by issue, Bernie gets supported by over 60% on almost every issue that he was pushing
okay,
out
so
there.
so that just is the testament to the corruption of the Democratic Party. Then
That's definitely true.
if it's true that he truly supports the ideals of the Democratic Party as it stands, and he didn't get
No,
the
as the
nomination.
Democratic Party used to be.
Okay, well, I didn't understand your wording there. So, okay, well, you mean you're talking about the FDR Democrats, right? Specifically,
Yeah,
the
back in
40s and 50s,
Yeah.
or the Adlai Stevenson Democrats, right? So, where do you think the left moved to right or center right? I mean, I've read the same book by Lauren Southern. She made the argument that the right moved center, and the Democrats moved even further left.
That's totally false.
Okay, well, I'm
At
being
least from my perspective.
well, I'm being objective. I'm asking just
1992, Bill Clinton moved the Democratic Party to the center, which was moving it to the right.
Mm-hmm.
And I voted for Clinton. He was the first major party candidate I ever voted for.
You didn't vote for Reagan?
I liked Ronnie as an actor, but not as a politician. And Clinton is what started really moving the Democrats to the right. But we had been moving that way, anyways, primarily as a reaction to the changing of social issues, the acceptance of gays, the acceptance of women outside of the kitchen, barefoot and pregnant, the acceptance of, wow, African Americans really do have rights, and they are smart sometimes.
Well, that brings that.
And that's facetious, by the way.
That reminds me, I want to add something a little bit later, but go ahead with what you were talking about.
People reacted. A lot of people reacted to that. Lyndon Johnson in 1965, I think it was, with the Voting Rights Act and the Civil Rights Act. That's where the Democrats lost the South.
Mm-hmm.
Many people who are now Republicans used to be Democrats.
Yeah.
Until the Democratic Party said, you know what? We really do need to include all Americans.
So you know what? That's an interesting point. Mid 60s late 60s rather, seemed to shift the party paradigm there.
It shifted to the left for a short period of time.
Democrats shifted left wing,
Yep.
and Republicans became the right wing party. Where Republicans kind of varied. If
you go back and look at the Republican Party platforms in the 1950s when Eisenhower was winning elections,
but that's one
a very liberal platform in today's world.
You would consider them Democrats now, but
actually you consider them liberal Democrats in today's world.
Well, the Eisenhower Republicans was a different faction from the Robert Taft Republicans, who would be, I guess you would consider them libertarians.
They were John Birchers. Come on.
Well, so there's that, and but then there's Rockefeller Republicans that are kind of
they were kind of
moderate,
the beginning
right?
of the donor class.
Yeah,
support.
The neoconservatives.
Yeah.
Who no one's a fan of anymore.
Right. I mean, you had in '64, you had Barry Goldwater, who was way too extreme for his time.
Very right wing.
And the Republicans got their asses whooped. Then '68 came along, and Nixon lied through his teeth, took advantage of Vietnam, and he became president. And Hubert Humphrey was a little too far to the left, and in '72, George McGovern was way too far to the left.
George McGovern was a lot like Bernie, I would say. When you say
he wasn't as much of a social democrat, but yeah, he was way out there in the left.
Right. And
then the Democratic Party said, "Oh, we got to come back to the right, or we're not going to win any elections."
I see as I think historically the United States has been a center right country, in a lot of ways.
Except that we're founded by left wingers.
Well, and you can that's a good argument to make. It seems the paradigm shifts depending on the time frame.
It does.
It's a pendulum. The founders, especially if you're gonna be Jeffersonian, Jefferson was very.
Could I interrupt and do an advertisement on your podcast?
Absolutely,
folks. This is a new Jameson here. It's called Jameson Caskmates.
I have seen commercials for that.
Good Jameson Irish whiskey, but it is rested for a while in Guinness barrels.
Wow.
And it adds a really, really nice
a good finish to it. You got to let me have a sip of that, man.
I've got one glass out here for you.
Just a little bit. I'm trying, Yeah. Well, unless you let me crash on your couch.
Well, last time you did that, you got in the middle of the night and left my door wide open.
I did? Your outside door?
Yeah, you didn't get it shut all the way.
No shit. You never told me that. Damn.
I didn't want to make you feel bad. There you go. Yeah, I'm a teacher who gets former students to come over and get drunk.
Yep.
Key word there is former.
Former, right.
Former teacher, former student. We're all adults here. It's all right. I'm drinking Founders All Day IPA. Great beer.
Too hoppy.
I'm finishing up the rest of my Christmas stash I bought with my last Fistmas. Oh yeah.
If you think I'm a craft beer guy, this guy. Okay, you want to talk about spectrums, left wing, right wing? I'm the moderate craft beer. That guy is the extremist in terms of craft beer. That guy's him and his dad, they post stuff all the time on Facebook, and I'm like, what the hell is that?
Craft beer is awesome now. I actually did not drink beer for years and years because it was so bad.
Bland.
And now the craft beer, porters and the stouts. And I don't like
especially being in Michigan.
Regular ales I do like. They're not as hoppy.
You don't like IPAs very much?
No, they're just they get bitter for me from all the hops.
I love IPAs. They're so refreshing for me, especially when it gets warm outside.
It really depends on my mood. I can go anywhere and try anything that seems appealing to me, but I personally like blacks, Scotch ales, browns, reds, kind of that darker. But not necessarily. I like a lot of stouts, but not quite that heavy. More on the flavorful side the dark beers.
Like Old Dirty Bastard, you know?
Yeah. Like Dirty Bastard, that's Scotch, stuff like that. I really like those.
That's interesting because that's kind of the reverse of this, you know. Jameson and Guinness barrels, that's stout and whiskey barrel.
Well, actually, this idea came about. Guinness contacted Jameson and said, "Can we have some of your barrels? We want to get into this craft beer thing." And so they
Right, so it's kind of reversed, yeah.
Guinness and Jameson, that didn't work out well. But Jameson said, "Well, let us try some of your Guinness barrels," and that I think worked real well.
That's interesting.
So, what'd you think of it?
You'd think I haven't tried it yet.
Oh, okay.
You'd think that a Guinness and Jameson barrel would be pretty goddamn good though. That didn't turn out good for them apparently.
No, the Guinness didn't. At least that's what the reviews say. I never ran across it. They didn't sell it. Said they came out with that blonde Guinness crap that nobody likes.
Oh
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan, honestly.
blonde Guinness. That's an oxymoron.
It is.
All right.
Just normal Guinness, you know, that's what I like.
I'm a Guinness fan. I'm going to Ireland for a week this summer.
Oh, nice. That's one of the countries I would like to visit over in Europe, for sure.
Ireland for a week and then Scotland for a week, and I'm a big Scotch drinker too. So
That's very
nice.
what did you think?
That is very, very smooth. That's like
It is.
You know,
Jameson doesn't have much of an edge, but what little edge Jameson had, that takes it off, but you still have the character coming through.
yeah.
I don't like Bushmills because it doesn't have any character.
It's got
Right. It's pretty
Definitely
plain.
it definitely has the Jameson taste for sure, but it's not
But it's not harsh, you know.
That Guinness aftertaste in there too. Or
Yeah.
undercurrent.
a little bit of it.
Yeah.
I could definitely there's definitely 70% Jameson, you know.
Oh, at least.
But it doesn't have that whiskey burn that that a lot of people don't like about whiskey, you know.
Mhm.
I don't drink a lot of liquor, you know, because it turns me into an asshole, you know, so I avoid it, you know, unless I'm doing sometimes when I'm
See, I can't relate to that because alcohol has never made me a mean, crude son of a gun.
that's good.
I get mellow when I drink alcohol.
That's
It
how I
really
am.
depends on what alcohol for me.
Yeah.
Doesn't matter for me. Throw it in front of me, man. I can drink it and I'll just get silly and stupid. I don't get mean and grumpy and angry.
That's good. Well, that's very fortunate. I mean, what's good about beer is that can be I just sit and chill drink. It could be a party drink. Beer's wine's very much just I'm going to sit at home and listen to music and just enjoy
Wine's good that
by
way.
myself, you know. But it's not something I'm going to take to a party. You know, unless it's sangria, which you put liquor in that, you put brandy in it if you want to make good sangria.
I've never had sangria with brandy.
No, really? Yeah, mine's simple. I just get a big enough jog, 2 bottles of red, usually cheap reds that are on sale, a lemon, a lime, an orange, some honey for my sweetener, and then I don't measure the brandy. I kind of just go by how boozy I want it to be, and I just pour it in there, and and then just top it off with some Sprite or something for a fizz, and that's it. There you go, homemade easy sangria, and it's delicious.
I made
It'll knock your socks off too.
a champagne Scotch punch last year to take to a 4th of July party.
Champagne Scotch punch.
And then use Faygo Red Pop for the sweetener.
That's interesting.
Oh my
Wow.
God. It tasted quite good. It
Yeah.
was a lot more alcoholic than I thought it was.
Oh yeah.
The number of it was pretty loaded.
Oh my God.
Yeah, that's the thing about Scotch. You have just a shot or two of it, but it's not even really that high alcohol. It's just something about it. Just boom, right into you.
Those.
Different liquors do treat you differently.
Yeah.
For me, tequila, a lot of people don't like tequila. I love tequila, but it's like speed. If I start drinking tequila, I'm
Just
ready to
wired.
night long.
Yeah.
Just keeps you going. Have another shot of tequila. I'm good for another hour.
Yep.
That's what vodka does that to me, and it's bad because it just they always talk about alcohol lowering inhibitions. You know, vodka destroys my inhibitions. So I don't. That's the reason. Again, different liquors affect me differently, and that's why I can't remember the last time I drank vodka.
Well, you won't have to worry about me supplying you with vodka because that's the one liquor I can't stand.
Right. Well, like scotches and bourbons and whiskeys and all that kind of brown liquor area, those tend to be just pretty average for me. But then like tequila is more of like a big party thing. Yep. I guess rums are like kind of a big party thing.
Rums can do it, yeah.
Rum too.
Right. But yeah, vodka just makes me like, sometimes it depends on really how blasted I am and what mood I'm in. Sometimes I could just be fine and just chill. Like it just kind of puts me out. I'm just like mellow. Or it can just like elevate my like anger levels and just.
I just don't like the taste of vodka. If I don't like the taste of it, I'm not going to drink it.
Well, I don't like the taste of vodka either. You got to like destroy it with whatever you're mixing with.
You need to have some good vodka.
Well, you drink vodka straight up, really?
Yeah.
Wow.
Well, either that or vodka water. Like, I don't really drink pop anymore, so what am I going to mix it with? So you just got to get a good vodka.
Low-cal cranberry juice? I don't know.
Okay, cranberry juice, sure. But
grape juice goes great with vodka.
Grape juice?
Well, yeah, that one too.
Drunk. The night before graduation in high school. That was the first time I ever got drunk.
I remember you telling me about that.
We took a gallon jug and put a fifth of vodka in it and filled it up with grape juice, and it got probably a half dozen of us just totally. I didn't slept in my buddy's truck that night. In fact, it was my Marine Corps buddy. We slept in his truck that night.
That's the guy? Your Marine Corps buddy's the 2-star general, right?
I was trying not to be that specific on who he was since this goes public.
Oh boy, my bad. Well, too late now.
Too late now, yeah.
That was me. Sorry, sir. Semper Fi. I've always supported the military, so.
But yeah, it's funny now that you mentioned back in like, end of high school drinking and stuff like that. I can remember like, yeah, a whole fifth for a group of guys was more than enough to get wasted. Funny. Now it's like, is everyone bringing their own fifth because we're not going to get drunk?
It's interesting, how that works. You bring a whole case of beer just for you.
Right.
How much beer do you need? I'm like, this is for me. What are you guys doing? You
right.
Bring your own
right.
But that's actually good back in high school that you get loaded so easy because alcohol inhibits brain development. So you don't want too much alcohol inside you.
That is a good point.
That's a valid point. You're right.
And I was kind of I don't know if nerd, that wasn't a term we used back in the 60s, but I was definitely one of the weirdo kids in school. I wasn't a partier in school. I didn't discover partying until I got to college. Well, the night before graduation.
Right.
Then when I got to college, oh my God, did I discover partying?
That's funny because that's the opposite for me. Like, I mean, I went to community college, so what are you going to do there? There's no partying.
I went to Ferris out of high school, and it just happened to be the college that was attracting more Vietnam vets than any other college in the country at that time.
There you go.
Yeah, I'm sure
guys knew how to party.
Yeah, I'm sure. I
learned about a whole bunch of different substances at Ferris that I had never experienced before.
Mary Jane, booze.
Yeah, that all comes into play.
Everything, yeah. They did everything in Vietnam, man.
Oh yeah.
I mean, a lot of the guys I talked to at the Legion, the Vietnam guys, they're maniacs. It's hilarious. It is really. We were talking about like just generational differences in politics and in culture and whatnot. Well, there weren't many. They're all gone now, obviously. But when I was hanging out there with my dad, there weren't a lot of World War II guys left. But the ones that were there, you could see definitely that they were 30s kids.
Whole different era from Vietnam.
Oh, yeah. But what's funny is the guy I knew would they'd say fuck all the time or whatever, and they're portrayed as being the conservative, strict, class of people. But this guy said fuck all the time, and then you got the Korean guys and the Korean War guys. They all have this weird, this is obviously anecdotal. This is from my own perspective. They have this kind of, they have a somber attitude almost, very.
We never settled Korea.
Yeah, they're very like meh.
We didn't win.
They have a meh, gray attitude about a lot of things.
That's how I was born during the Korean War.
Yeah, and then the Vietnam guys were just like
crazy.
6 more beers, dude. I'll show you.
And there's a big difference too. The World War II guys came home as heroes.
That's true.
The Korean guys came home and were ignored.
Yep.
The Vietnam guys came home and they were the enemy.
Yeah. hated. That's it. That's true, because the World War II guys I know were very boisterous and very like, I'll tell you something. They're very. The Korean guys were way
almost entitled in a way. Yeah.
Not entitled, but not afraid to speak their mind. Yeah. The Korean guys were very reserved, and they didn't really talk much, And the Vietnam guys were always the ones to just give me another shot, or just give me another beer.
Yeah, they were not treated properly.
No, they weren't. That's a damn shame too.
It is, but the Vietnam War was actually divided this country quite a bit too.
I think
it was unfortunate for the military folks who served.
Yeah.
And many of them were just drafted too. They didn't want to go fight.
Yep.
And they got called up. Drafts were still happening.
Well, not to mention, there's a guy I knew there who did 3 tours and tried to do 4, and they said no, he already did
enough.
3.
Whereas in Iraq, they would have said, "Yeah, come on."
Well, of course, but this guy was crazy, man. I remember hearing he was locked up in an asylum for a while.
Wow.
He was legit crazy.
Now, do you still go down to the Legion?
I haven't been there in a well.
I should go join.
You should.
I keep saying that.
You've been talking about that for a few years now.
I finally have the paperwork. I don't have a DD-214. I never got issued one, but I have the Navy equivalent of it.
Well, you can be if you're a descendant of a veteran, you can be a dual member. You can be a son's
I'm not
member.
a descendant of a
you're
veteran.
not? None?
My
Really?
stepfather was a veteran.
Okay.
He actually was one of the guards at the Japanese internment camps out in California.
Really?
And,
that's interesting.
he did not like the military because of the way they treated these folks. Mm-hmm. He almost got court-martialed for shooting jackrabbits and throwing them over the fence so that these people could have meat.
That's such a bleak moment in our history.
It is.
Again, it's that Brent, you and I were talking about, I don't remember when we exactly talked about this, but I was talking to Mr. Sargent. I tried to get him into hardcore history a while ago. He wasn't into it. He's not a big history fan. But Dan Carlin has an episode called The American Peril. And it's about it's one of Brent and I's favorites, and it's about how America shifted from this pretty much Jeffersonian view of America into the Rooseveltian imperialist
America World Police,
Yeah, yeah, America, that kind of thing. Because we used to be like. Jefferson, famously said, we'll trade with everybody, but we're not allies with anyone. We're gonna be here. We're gonna have our own experiment, which you can
work for a while.
Well, you can criticize that, but again, this isn't the guy wasn't here now. If he was in the 21st century, he'd probably have different opinions.
I'm sure he would.
So, but the paradigm shifted from that to this empire that we have now.
Yes, we're very imperialistic now.
And it's just where was I going with this?
You were just explaining it, I think.
But what was
the history guy?
Yeah, but there was something I was trying to relate it to. But he was talking about. Oh yeah, he was talking about like just that how he likes to compare. He likes to use a metaphor about America being a schizophrenic robot, where like. The robot's programming
like Schmeagol from Lord of the Rings.
That's a good example.
It has to convince both areas of its bipolarness to make a decision, and that was especially America at that time, and still resonates to now, where you have to convince both sides to be able to really go and do something. And a lot of the examples, where like one side would have to. Not only like his example along these lines was like, the golem creature for Schmeagol would convince the Schmeagol creature part of his psyche that, it's not just taking the ring from Frodo. It's in Frodo's best interest if I take the ring from him. So then it's not Frodo's burden or whatever. It's mine now. It's my burden to bear. But, just to convince the other side that it was a good reason to steal this thing.
Mm-hmm. That's a perfect analogy. It's about like the Jeffersonian half of the brain trying to reconcile with the Rooseveltian, the TR, not FDR, but the TR part of the brain that And it's usually the last 100 years, and especially the last few decades, the TR part of the brain is definitely one, where it's like we have to intervene, we have to be this American empire, because we support freedom. And the Jeffersonian brain seems to default to that,
But if you don't support that imperialistic view, you're a damn snowflake.
Yeah, or you're an isolationist, which doesn't make any sense. And Dan Carlin, he talks about that in his Common Sense podcast, his current events one, which I told you should check that one out. You should check that out if you're not. What the hell's going on here?
And I think the internet's taking a dump for half a second there.